Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Child Care Business Success Show. We had a little bit of a delayed start time tonight. It's interesting. I'm finding it that we're talking about self-motivation this evening, and all kinds of craziness is breaking loose with our technology where my guests in the lobby can't see me. But we're still going to have a fantastic show. And I can't wait to talk to you about self-motivation. And Loretta Talk, our Chief of Happiness, is here, and she's going to share some of her story as well. And the thing that I want you to know about is our journeys in self-motivation, and that it wasn't an easy road for some of us to get where we're at. But just like you, probably, we had to really overcome lots of obstacles in our lives to get here. And especially if you're an entrepreneur, you could probably really relate to this, because I think entrepreneurship is one of the biggest opportunities for self-growth and self-improvement, as is leadership. So if you're tuning in this evening, it's all about self-motivation. And when I first started speaking back in, I don't know if it was like 1999 or before then, this was a topic that I was talking a lot about, because it was a time in my life when I was really discovering the power of self-motivation and the power of tapping into your own thought process and your own mindset to get you new results. And tonight I want to share with you my journey. So I'm going to get very personal, very transparent, very vulnerable with you. And before I dive into that, I want to share with you a couple prizes that are on the table and a couple things that we're going to be doing this evening. And of course, if you're here, say hello. I want to make sure that you got the right link. And I know Jana's been monitoring, so thank you, Jana. And please make sure that this gets shared in the group pages. And if you're here tuning in, of course, say hello. We love your interaction, and we'd love your questions about self-motivation, because even if you mastered the journey for yourself, then the question always becomes, well, how do we now translate this to our staff so our team can be more motivated? So if you're tuning in, some of the prizes that we got on the table, let's see, what are we doing? And this is going to be a tough one for, I don't know who's going to be figuring this one out tonight, but we're going to be announcing our very first video marketing winner. And this is a really cool prize that I added in last week, where we are actually going to do a customized video, a marketing video for you. And it's just almost like a series of PowerPoints, but we put it together where it looks super cool. And the way that you win this prize is that every single week, we're going to see who's the most engaged person in our childcare business success group. So you have to be a member of the group. And if you're not yet a member of the group, Jana, if you could go ahead and post that link there so that we can make sure, because every interaction that you have this evening is also going to qualify you to win this prize. So I'm not sure, Loretta or Jana, who's going to have this figured out. Maybe you can message each other in Facebook. But tonight, by the time we wrap up, we are going to have a prize winner for our marketing video, which I'm really excited about. And then I'm not sure, I'm going to bring Loretta on to remind me if we have any other prizes that are on the table. We typically give out brownies, and that's what we did last week, but we got really excited about the video marketing idea. And I'm going to add Loretta up here with me. All right. And I see Jana messages coming through. Okay. Hey, Loretta.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Back to reality after a wonderful week of vacation with family.
I hear you. Well, I'm glad that you made time to join us. Yeah, and if you're tuning in, say hello so that I know that you could hear us. And Troy, if there's any way you could get on with us. I don't know. Loretta said she had to reboot and then log back in, and she was able to get on with us, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Tried to do a couple different devices.
Yeah, I don't know why our talk show format's acting up this evening on Facebook, but it is. So let me show my name here too. There we go. So Loretta's going to be sharing her story as well, and I just want to get into the journey of self-motivation. But I'm wondering, Loretta, are there any other prizes that we're going to give away this evening? Is there anything I forgot about, or is the marketing video our big one?
I think that's our big one. If I can get to the live video, if it starts popping up on my other device and I can follow, I will watch for engagement and interaction. We may be able to give away some brownies as well.
Okay.
But with our lovely technology, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if I can do that. It might be a post production brownie giveaway.
Okay. Well, Jana's also tuning in, so maybe we'll have Jana. She's going to do the honors for us, and we'll have Jana. So, Jana, whoever's going to be the most engaged person from the time I announced it last week till the show concludes this evening, whoever is like most engaged, most comments, most referrals, whatever it might be, they're going to get the video prize, and we're going to be awarding that every week. And keep in mind, it's not an exact science, so we don't have a tick sheet, but it's just going to be your name popping up over and over and over again. And then whoever is the most engaged this evening in itself, will announce them as the brownie winner, and we'll rely on Jana to send Loretta a message so that we know who that person is. Sound good?
Perfect.
Perfect. All right. Cool. We have more people tuning in. All right. Hello. Let's see who's here with us. Hello, Andrea. Let's just show a couple people here. Hello. Up and John is popping some links in there. Yeah. So make sure. Here's Nikki. Hello. Hi, Nikki. Nice to see you. Here's Troy. He's going to be trying to get on with us live. But Troy's with So Tell Us, and he's going to be one of my friends who you'll be hearing from regularly. Oh, Stephanie is here. Awesome, Stephanie. Nice to see you. And of course, Brandon is here. We've got more folks hopping on. I'm always reminded of the romper room, you know, when it was like she would say your name and it'd be like, yes, she said my name. It's so exciting. All right. All right. So I think for this evening, I'm going to start my story, and I'll put you back in the lobby, Loretta. And then after I share, let me get... let me hide Brandon's comment here. And after I share my story, or at certain points, I may call you back in, and then we're going to dive into your story as well, because motivation is such an important topic. And I know that you've had the opportunity to work with and talk with many different childcare owners and directors. How do you think lack of self-motivation impacts people in the childcare industry? And I'll give you my 2 cents on that in a minute.
I know. I was going to say right now, I thought I was coming back. You know, it's...
Well, we're not going to your story yet.
No.
But I just want to give everybody a good lead in here.
Motivation is different for every person. I don't think that there's one silver bullet for every person, but once they figure it out for themselves, what motivates them, and they can kind of lasso that, nothing will stop them. And I think there's probably some really key things that will work for a lot of people. But what motivates me isn't necessarily what motivates you, and what motivates Brandon or all of these people that are watching. They have to find
you're not going to tell us chocolate is your motivator, are you?
I sometimes that's what it takes. No, my motivation comes from within for sure. But sometimes if I need a little pick-me-up for energy, chocolate is definitely on the menu.
So let's ask our audience members, our viewing members, what is it that you feel is your motivator? So what is it that really motivates you? And if your team could be more motivated, what is it that you would accomplish? And what I've seen in this industry is, and I did a little video on this a couple of hours ago and posted on Facebook, but what I see in this industry is that a lot of times we're really trying to motivate people from an external perspective. And we're not tapping into the how do I get them to be motivated internally, or what we might call inspiration. And years ago, there was always this debate like, are we trying to inspire people or are we trying to motivate the people? And I don't get too caught up on the linguistics of those two words, but we do want it to be internal motivation to where it's not hanging that carrot in front of people's face and say, okay, now wash your hands before you come back to work and you're going to get a piece of chocolate. Do this, come to work on time and you're going to get this. Do this and you're going to get this. Or do this so you don't get a write-up or reprimand. So we're really motivated by two different things. It's the pain or pleasure. And it becomes utterly exhausting for childcare owners and for childcare directors to manage on this type of motivation level, to manage where we're always dangling something in front of somebody's face to either get them to do something or get them to stop doing something. And if you've been there, tell us about it in the comments, and that's going to count towards our interaction for this evening to see if you are one of the prize winners. But this is something that I've heard a lot is that, Julie, I'm just so tired of buying them presents and then hearing complaints that it's the wrong color. And that's the way that we're trying to motivate. It's just externally. So now we want to switch it. So I'm going to share my journey. Loretta's going to share a little bit of hers. And then I see Troy has been able to join us. He is waiting in the lobby. Yay, Troy's here. We're so excited. He's one of my friends from So Tell Us, and he was here as a guest on one of our earlier episodes. And we're going to hear a little bit about it. So Tell Us at our little commercial break. But until then, we are going to be talking about self-motivation. So Loretta, now I will put you back in the lobby, and I'm going to tell my story. Did I bring some Kleenex? I don't know.
I know. I may have to grab one.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Loretta. I'll pull you back up in a little bit. Okay. All right. So again, we've got the two prizes on the table. So Loretta and Troy are in the lobby. They'll be coming on and joining us. But I wanted to be transparent about motivation and where it started with me. And I sent out an email just probably about an hour ago talking about my journey. And part of my style of doing things is being very transparent, very open. So if you come to any of my events, you'll hear me sharing stories. I talk about my dating life. I talk about all different things as they pertain to something that might help you grow. And if you can relate to what I'm saying at any point, give us an oh yeah, let me know that you can relate to what I'm saying. And I'll be looking in for the comments as well. Writing goals down, says Nikki. Okay, and I'll go through some of the comments too as we progress. All right, so for me, where it started is I felt that always as a child, I had this level of motivation within me. There was just this desire to do more. And I think part of it was almost from a rebellious place, a place of I'll show them. As a child, I was told that I was dumb, that I wasn't the right weight, that I wasn't smart enough. And basically all these things that told a young kid, hey, you're not worthy and everybody else is better. And I started thinking about those things, and on a certain level, they didn't sink in. On a certain level, it was like, well, wait a second. I'm going to show all these people who said these things, family members, teachers, dance teachers, that they're wrong. And I really fought my way. And even though I was told I was a dummy and I wasn't that smart and whatever it might be, I fought my way to get into the honors classes. So there was a side of me where it was just in me to be motivated. And it was more like with this rebellious attitude that I took. But also in me was this deep subconscious programming. And I want to share this with you because chances are it's in you as well. And if you haven't had awareness around it, maybe this will help kind of spark a little bit like, oh, I've got that in me. But also I want you to understand it too from the perspective that your staff has this programming inside of their heads. On average, we think anywhere from 40 to 60,000 thoughts every single day. And the thoughts that consistently run through our minds are the thoughts that are based on the programming that we have. And the programming that we have inside of our heads are based on the messages that we were or were not fed as children growing up. So when I was growing up, it was you're a dummy, you're overweight, you're this, and I wasn't overweight, but it was just somebody's perception. So then when I became an adult, I got myself and I created circumstances in my life to reinforce what everybody was telling me. So I set myself up in very destructive circumstances. So my first boyfriend in high school, my real boyfriend, he became abusive. And I stuck with it, and he became physically abusive. And I stuck with him because I thought, somebody loves me, and there's a person in my life and they want to be around me, even though there was this part of it that was very destructive. And I haven't talked a lot about that in many, many years, but it was because of the programming in my head saying you're not worth it. So it was like, here's a relationship, somebody approves, somebody loves me, even though it was very dysfunctional. Then after I broke that off, I got married, and guess what happened? That marriage turned into an abusive relationship as well. And it became very verbally abusive and then a little physically abusive, to where one day when I was at the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was 4 years into the marriage. And I said, we need to live apart. So we were out looking for an apartment for him to live in. And while I was driving the car, he looked over at me. It was this bright sunny day, and he became enraged, and he put his hands around my neck while I was driving. And that really scared the crap out of me, saying, I've got to do something different. And why do I keep setting myself up in these situations? And this is when I realized that in life, we have these recurring patterns, these things that happen over and over and over and over again. So perhaps it's your pattern of not being able to find enough staff, not being able to find the right kind of staff, and you find yourself always repeating. And this is why I tell my clients, you've got to start giving yourself a new experience to set yourself up for something new and something different to happen. So on this day, when my ex-husband had his hands around my neck, I was like, all right, I've got to change this pattern, because I'm seeing this from growing up to having verbally abusive messages around me, to being in an abusive relationship, and then being in another abusive relationship. I said, I can't do this anymore. So it was at that point when I got a divorce and started getting really healthy with the relationships, I discovered some keys to self-motivation. And I discovered that I could start thinking differently than the programming that was in my head. Because if I kept on staying on the same path with the programming that was in my head, I would have kept making the same choices. So when I began to think different thoughts, I began to have new opportunities unfold for me in my life. And then what I learned with self-motivation is that it's like this muscle that you build inside of your head, your mindset, your ability to think positive thoughts. It all becomes this power place and the source of, thinking inside of your head that you can really hold on to and use in trying circumstances. So when I started building this muscle, I was working in corporate America, and there was constant change going on around me. It was 8 years, and it was right sizing and downsizing and execution style firings. But in the midst of all of this crazy change, because I really changed my mindset, I was able to quadruple my income while other people were losing their jobs. I was like, wow, isn't that cool? And I really think that life has presented me with all kinds of challenges so that I could consistently recognize the importance of honing in on a positive mindset and really discovering tools and strategies for staying self-motivated. And I wanted to be, like I said, this transparent with you, because there are situations that we all go through in life. And you'll hear some from Loretta and some from Troy. We'll see what they have to share. But there's these situations that go on in life, and it's just our life. But if you continuously think the same thoughts, you're going to be in the same spot you've always been in. And the same thing is true for your staff. And this is why you can totally build your self-motivation muscle and then cultivate it into your culture, so that you're not only motivating and inspiring the kiddos in your care, but you're also motivating and inspiring your staff. Because think about that. If you're helping them change their life from a very intrinsic perspective, they're going to be able to change so many other people's lives from that perspective as well. But if we don't stop, like, here's the chocolate, oh, here's this gift, here's this, without changing and understanding the internal workings of why they do what they do, we're not really going to sustain that long-lasting change. And that's when we have a lot of turnover in our organizations. And I wholeheartedly believe my mindset is the place is that you can totally build your team and retain amazing staff. But you've got to get inside of your head to say, okay, well, what is it, or how can I expand my own mindset so I can operate from a place of truly being self-motivated? And then how do I cultivate a culture where self-motivation is one of our top values, one of our key components? So if you're relating to any of my story, I'd love for you to share any comments that you have or any questions that you might have. And like I said, I wanted to be totally transparent with you this evening. I don't typically share all the details of everything I've been through. And who knows, maybe it'll be in a book. But what I learned was that there are self-motivation strategies that can sustain you in any situation you're given. And even when I lost my husband, so I've been divorced, and then just 6 years ago, I became a widow to Tom, who I was married to for about 4 years, but we've known each other since we were 13. And the self-motivation strategies really sustained me on a very deep level, going way back to what I learned in my 20s after the moment where my first husband put his hands around my neck and I said, no, I'm changing things. This isn't going to be the way my life is going to be. And even though I was successful in corporate America and still working that from a very rebellious place with me, like, I'll show them I'm going to be successful. I'll show them I'll be that dancer. Now it started to be from a different place. It was from a place of, I'm going to be motivated. And you know what? I'm worth it. I deserve it. And I'm really going to make my life into the dreamy life that I desire. And that's why I use that word a lot, because a lot of us are merely existing. A lot of us are really just trying to survive circumstances, when I think you could really rise above surviving to really creating something that comes from the desire that the universe feeds you about what's possible in your life, personally and professionally. All right. Yes. Okay. So let me see here. I'm just reading comments as we go. All right. So that's a little bit of my story and my circumstances and what I discovered. And I'll have Troy and Loretta share some of theirs too. But I want to let you know that at that moment when those hands were around my neck, I started thinking like, okay, something has to be different here. But I really didn't know where to start, because all I knew was what I knew inside of my head. But there was something inside of me that was saying, Julie, things can be totally different. You can think totally different. And I'm like, well, how do I think totally different when all I have are the thoughts in my head to think? And then I was inspired to pick up some books. And one of the first books that I picked up was this one. It was The Roads Less Traveled. And I don't know if you've ever read this one, but there was a line in here, and all my pages are yellow because I'm like, oh my goodness, this book is getting so old. But there's so many things in here that I highlighted. And the thing that I love about books is that you can read it, 20 years ago, and you come back and read it now from where you're at, you're like a totally different person. So when I picked up The Roads Less Traveled, one of the things that really stood out in my mind was the saying, love is as love does. And that really struck a chord with me for a lot of personal development and self-growth, because I'm like, wait a second, love is as love does. That was very intriguing to me, because I always thought love was something we say. Love, was just something that happened naturally because it's your mom, your dad, they love you. But the does part was really interesting to me. And love is as love does is a statement that's true for everybody who you surround yourself with in your life, but it's also true for you and how you treat yourself. So everybody could say, yeah, I love myself, but love is as love does. So what is it that you do to really love yourself? And there's an exercise that I think it was Louise Hay recommended one time, and I had my clients do this one time when they were over, is to go to the mirror and look at yourself and say, hey, I really love you, and to really give yourself that eye contact. Or another exercise that I have them do is to look at a picture of themselves as a young child and say, I love you, and feed them a message that maybe you weren't fed as a young child, so that you can really rewrite the programming that you received as a child, or at least overrule it. I've heard that you can never totally change your programming, but you can so work on it so that a different or alternate set of thoughts becomes something that you could easily default to. And with my mindset these days, it's not that negative thoughts never pop in my mind. Yeah, I'm human and all kinds of thoughts are popping in there, right? But what you can choose, and can choose very carefully, are the thoughts that you dwell on. And that is something that I would totally write down, is that what you can choose and what you should choose very carefully are the thoughts that you dwell on. Because, like I said, all kinds of thoughts are going to come into your head, but what are you going to dwell on? And when you think about the dwelling part, think about how many of your staff members dwell on the negative thoughts. And the type of thoughts that we choose to dwell on are the kind of thoughts that we are going to have more on, because what we focus on expands. So if we say to ourselves, I never find anybody good on Indeed.com, you're never going to find anybody good on Indeed. If you always say to yourself, there's no good staff out there, there's going to be no good staff out there. So if you keep dwelling on those things, those are the only opportunities you're going to see. So now you've got to start changing your thought process and start changing the feelings that you have behind the thoughts. And that's really the secret sauce in all this, is to change the thoughts. So for me, the journey really began with diving into books. And at the time I was doing this, there wasn't things like Audible, where now you could go to Audible and you could listen to one book a week while you're doing other things. But another book that was super transformational was In Man's Search of Meaning. And this is an amazing book where Viktor Frankl talks about life in the Nazi death camps. And I often share this when I'm on stage speaking, but he talks about how some prisoners committed suicide by running into barbed wire fences, while other prisoners did what it took to make it to freedom. And he wanted to study the difference to say, okay, well, why are some people so intrinsically motivated that they're going to make it to freedom, where others are like, forget this, it's not worth it, my family's probably gone. And he really narrowed it down to one word that became a self-sustaining, motivating word for him and for other prisoners. And that word, and I write this down really huge in capital letters, it's one it's one we reinforce in our Childcare Business Success group, but it is the word gratitude. And he said the prisoners who could be thankful for the bowl of soup or the food that they got every single day had more motivation to live. So gratitude was a huge strategy. And he said gratitude in the camps was a big stretch, because gratitude meant that you looked at your murky cup of water with a piece of bread plopped into it that was called soup, and you said, I am so thankful for this amazing meal. And he said every little thing that they could exaggerate and be really thankful about gave them more motivation. So when we think about that in your childcare program or in your life, think about creating your own gratitude list where every single day you write 5 different things on that list. And then think about cultivating that as part of your culture, where everybody creates a gratitude list and their challenge is to write down 5 different things on that list. So that's going to help start transforming our mindset to focusing on the positive, focusing on the things that motivate us. But once we get to that place where we start dwelling on the negative thoughts, guess what we're going to get more of? More negative thoughts. And if you can relate to this, love the message, please shoot me a comment. We're going to have more discussion with Loretta and Troy coming up, and then we're going to hear a little bit about Sotellus as well. But I want you to think about your own self-motivation journey. And if you were to rate yourself right now on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? And I'm not talking about the pain that you are enduring. So there's a difference between being self-motivated to get the results that you want to have happen in your life and enduring pain, enduring suffering. That's not what it's about. It's about being inspired to stretch and expand. So reading books became an invaluable tool for me because they did one huge thing, and they submerged my mind with a different way of thinking. They submerged my mind with a different way of thinking. And this is really important for you, and it's really important for your staff. And imagine, even if the kiddos in your care are getting fed certain messages at home that aren't going to attribute or help them grow mentally, they might need some of these submerging of their minds as well. So think about starting something where you have a quote of the day that goes up, or you ask people for their most motivational quotes. But we really want to get out of the pattern of dwelling on the negativity and start dwelling on the positive, which does not mean that we bury all issues under the rug, but it means that we make the main priority the positive things that are going on, and we really dwell on that. And we'll talk about team empowerment in a future show, because that really ties in nicely with this. But think about, number 1, thoughts. So if we're thinking 40 to 60,000 thoughts every single day, and here's a couple more statistics for you, is 87% of those thoughts on average are negative. And those negative thoughts come from the messages that we were or were not fed as children growing up. Then we have a certain amount of repetitive thoughts, meaning thoughts that we think day after day after day after day. And the repetitive thoughts that we have are like 95%. So Sunday night we go to bed, we have a certain thought. Monday night we go to bed, we have a certain thought. The alarm goes off Monday morning, we have a certain thought. Alarm goes off Tuesday morning, we have a certain thought. We see a certain person, we have a certain thought. And the pattern goes on and on and on and on, where we're continuously thinking the same thoughts over and over and over and over again. So the baseline starting place is the thoughts that you think, but then the secret sauce, like I revealed, are the feelings. It's really about sitting in the feeling of the new thought. So it's not just about thinking the thought, it's really about feeling the feeling that's associated with that thought. Does this make sense? Is this resonating with you? And one more strategy before we're going to take a little break in a moment. And then Troy's going to come on and talk to you for a moment, but is visualization. So you think the thought, you feel the feeling, and then you visualize. And I want you to think about what would it be like if every morning before parents came in, and you might be able to do this, you might not be able to do this, maybe it's a lunchtime activity, but what would it be like if you got your team together? And maybe it's even on a video format like this, and you had everybody close their eyes and they visualized success. They visualized parents coming in, smiling, greeting them, paying you on time, being happy about the care that they received, whatever it might be. And you take your team through this visualization. And you could do the same thing for yourself, where you visualize, 20 people coming in today, handing you checks saying, I want to enroll, I want to prepay for a year. And the list can go on and on and on and on. But the top athletes in our world visualize. And I visualize anytime before I hit the stage. I'm visualizing what my talk will look like, what it will sound like. I'm not scripting it out or memorizing it, but I'm visualizing it. So what would it be like if you could tap your team into the power of visualization, and it becomes something that you practice as well? And as one of my favorite motivational speakers, Les Brown, says, don't practice what you preach, but preach what you practice. So if we want our team to be more positive, how can we start practicing that? How can we start infiltrating them with the visions that they need to have in their mind of success? Interesting, right? All right, is Troy still with me? Troy, I saw you here, and now you disappeared on me. All right, I was going to take a break with Troy. We'll see if I see Troy back here. Okay, but I will take your questions, and there's a lot more to this. And when I go on site and work with teams, we could be going through this for 1 or 2 days. So you're getting this crash course of my strategies for self-motivation, as well as my experiences. And I'm going to bring Troy up to the lobby, and he's going to join us in a conversation about self-motivation in a minute. But before we do that, we're going to take what I'm calling like a little commercial break. And Troy wants to share with you some information about how to have more positive reviews. And he joined us on one of our episodes back a few shows ago. Well, I'll welcome him up here with me, and then I'll bring myself down. So Troy, I'm going to bring you up to say hello, and then I'm going to give you the platform for a moment. Hi, Troy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Sensational.
Good. We had such difficulties getting you on here, but I'm glad we made it all work.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had to switch devices. I went to one device to get on, and then I was trying to get the other one back up and running because I had a little bit better camera and lighting. So hopefully this sounds good and everything's working good.
We could hear you, and Loretta was down in the lobby shaking her head. Yep. That's what she had to do too, try different devices. So I'm glad that you're here. So we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about more self-motivation, but I'm actually going to move myself back down into the lobby, and I'm going to give Troy the platform for a few moments. We'll see how that works out. And Troy's going to tell us a little bit about So Tell Us. And this is really about how you could generate more 5-star reviews for your childcare program. So as with any show, you do need a little commercial break. So we're going to take one here, and I'll move myself down, and I'll give you the floor. All right, Troy?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here. I promise this will be a real quick commercial break. I know everyone wants to run to the bathroom and everything when they hit a commercial break, but hopefully this will be of value to you. Julie brought me on the show a couple of episodes ago, and we talked about the importance of reviews and referrals and how they can help grow your childcare business. And that's what our company does, is we basically help childcare centers capture not only written reviews like from Google and Facebook and things like that, but we actually help them capture video, audio, and written reviews. And then we take care of all of the marketing for you. So basically we give you like an app that goes on a smartphone or a tablet. in your center, and you can capture these video, audio, and written reviews right through the app in the center. And then our system will automatically take those reviews. They'll put the 4- and 5-star reviews on your website as part of your marketing on your website and the social proof that you're the best center in your area. The system will automatically take those reviews. It will push them out to your social media sites, which is really, really important because that's where the majority of parents are spending their free time, is on the social media sites. So you need to make sure that you have a great presence on the social media sites. And then the next thing the system does is it actually takes those reviews, it optimizes them, and it gets them ranked on the first page of Google, which is really, really important as well, because 70% of consumers are actually going to go and research your center online before they make that buying decision. So if they don't find any reviews or they find negative reviews on that first page of Google, they're not going to want to choose your center. So it's so important that you control the first page of Google when people are checking out your center online. And our system automatically does that for you. And then the final piece of the puzzle is we all want more referrals, right? Wouldn't we love it if our parents actually like referred other parents to us? Because those are just those are great clients, and they're very easy to get to close and become a new client of the center. And what our system does is it actually lets you create offers. Like, for example, you could give an offer for, no enrollment or whatever it might be, and it will actually let your existing parents share that offer out on their Facebook page in front of all of their friends and family, and let them claim that offer and come into your center and go through a tour, or, just claim the offer and go ahead and sign up. So it's a really cool way to generate referrals, because one of the biggest problems with referrals is, for example, if you were to ask me right now, Troy, do you know anybody who needs a childcare center or maybe wants to change childcare centers? And the answer is honestly, no, I don't, because I don't know that in depth in the lives of my friends and family. There's probably a couple of them that are looking for a childcare center right now, but I just don't know that. So instead of like asking me that, you can just say, hey, Troy, if you just want to click this button, it'll share out an offer with all your friends and family. And anybody who needs a childcare center will be able to have a discount and have a savings because they know you. So of course I'm going to want to do that, right? Because I want to help out the people that I know and love. And if all I've got to do is click a button and do that. So it's a great way to generate new referrals coming into your center. And that's pretty much how Sotellus works. So our system helps you get, written reviews on sites like Google and Facebook and Yelp and all the other written review sites, but it also helps you capture video reviews, and then it does all the marketing for you. So all you do is ask the parent for a review, and then our system does all the rest for you. And that's the beauty of Sotellus. And we've had some really great success using Sotellus. In fact, one of our clients, Palm Beach Preschools, she told us that she added 150 new kids because of using Sotellus in like 6 months, because her reputation skyrocketed and it was being shared out there on the social media sites, and she generated a ton of new parents coming in and doing tours. So if anyone has any questions on Sotellus, we'd love to help you out. If you're interested in signing up for Sotellus, what we do for Julie is we give a 30-day free trial. We don't do this anywhere else. So the way to get it is you go to sotellus.com/Julie. So that's So Tell Us, kind of like love our service. So Tell Us. So sotellus.com/Julie. And there's a promo code that you have to put in to get the 30-day free trial, because we don't give that away normally. So the promo code is the number 30. So 30 as in like 30 days. And then the word free, FREE. So you put that all together, 30 FREE, all lowercase, and that will give you a 30-day free trial of the software. So that's it. If anyone has any questions, let me know.
Awesome. Great stuff, Troy. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So I think let's just stay on and let's talk about self-motivation with you, and then we'll have Loretta come back on in a little bit to talk about her journey. But I shared, I was pretty transparent with my journey, and I know we each have had our own, especially entrepreneurs seem to have stories. And I really believe, transparency is the way to be these days, because so many people learn from us sharing. And I know how much I've learned from people like Viktor Frankl, just, opening his heart and his book and just sharing his story and inspiring so many people, or people like Les Brown, who is absolutely amazing. And these days, even though right now he's faced with terminal cancer, he's jet hopping around the world, speaking in London and this place and that place. I'm like, man, would I be curled up in a ball, or would I be out there doing the same thing? But he says, while I have a voice to speak, I am sharing it. And that is my purpose and what I'm doing. So let us know, what's been your self-motivation journey, and what are some strategies that you've implemented or continue to implement?
Well, yeah, thanks for asking that, because self-motivation is a huge part of my life. Kind of my history is I grew up in a house with a dad who was like the number one salesman. No matter where he went, he was the best. And then he didn't sell easy stuff. Like, this is a guy that sold World Book encyclopedias door to door. That's got to be, talk about motivating yourself to knock on doors and sell people, an encyclopedia set. So I lived in this house where self-motivation was a really big thing. In fact, he had every single tape you can think of, audio tape, from guys like Og Mandino, Mark Victor Hansen, Joel Whedon, any of those guys. And he would have me listen to those as I fell asleep at night.
Oh, wow.
He wanted me to learn and really, absorb what they were teaching. So I listened to him during the day. Every time we were in the car, one of those guys was on, the tape playing. And then I listened to it at night. Like, I remember Joe Weldon, I don't know if you remember him, but he had this awesome phrase, which was, success comes in cans, not in cannots.
Oh,
and then he gave away these stickers that you would wrap around a can of like corn, and it would say that. And I had one of those sitting on my nightstand right next to my bed, so that every time when I woke up, first thing in the morning, boom, that's what I saw. Success comes in cans, not in cannots. And it really shaped my life. In fact, I remember my dad in World Book, he was a big regional manager, and he had this meeting where he brought in Mark Victor Hansen, who did Chicken Soup for the Souls and all those wonderful books. He brought him in, and he's got all these salespeople, right, that work for him. And who does he have sitting on the front row watching Mark Victor Hansen? He had us, his kids, because he's like, this is important for my salespeople, but this is more important for my kids. Yeah. And that's really the key, is filling your mind, at least for me, it's filling your mind on a daily basis with positive things, motivating things that are going to get you to forget the negative and move forward. So that's number one, is finding, whoever it may be, whether it's, someone like the book that you're reading, or Audible, someone you're listening to, but having something every single day that's positive to start your day off, so that your mind is in the right mindset as you move forward and you tackle that day. Because like you said, we may go to bed on a Sunday night and we go, oh, it's Monday tomorrow. I don't want to deal with what I've got to deal with. So how do we wake up Monday morning? Oh, it's Monday, right? We've just programmed our brain Sunday night that tomorrow is going to be horrible.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's in our mind, So that's the big thing, is finding the positive things that you can use. And then the other thing I would just share real quick is that it comes down to goals and motivation. Right? As far as goals, like, you have to set goals, and you have to have something that you look forward to. And I'll share a real quick story. I love applying these things to my children, because I'm a parent of 3 kids. I've got a 16-year-old daughter, my son's going to be 13 next month, and a 9-year-old daughter. And so my son came to me and he said, hey, I want to get an Xbox One S. And I said, that's awesome. You need to earn the money and buy it yourself. And he goes, okay. And so he's like, well, how am I going to do that? I said, I don't know. How are you going to do that? And he's like, well, I don't know how I'm going to earn $200, but I want this right away. I said, well, you need to start thinking about it. So within probably 30 minutes, he came up with a way for him, well, several different ways for him to earn over $200 in like the next week. And it's like, think about that for a second. What changed? 30 minutes before, the kid had no money and he had no way of making any money in his mind. He set a goal that he wanted this Xbox One. And in the 30 minutes with a different mindset, he came up with a way to earn $200, which is like $10,000 for a 13-year-old kid.
Right.
And that's the thing, is because before that moment, he didn't have a goal. So he had no desire to earn the money. He wasn't even thinking about it. But the minute he put a goal in place, everything changed. And if you've ever watched that show, The Secret, that
Yeah.
movie. It talks about putting it out in the universe and the universe will give it to you. Well, I'm a firm believer that if you put it out in your mind will figure out how to make it happen, right? Whether it's the universe, whether it's your mind, once you put that out there and you put some focus on it, you will figure out a way to make it happen. And I think that's how you self-motivate. One of the best ways to motivate yourself is to have that goal, no matter what it may be, whether it's to be more positive today, whether it's to sign up more parents, whatever it might be. If you put that goal in front of yourself, now your mind and your subconscious will start working towards that goal.
Well, and I think with goals too, I think the important thing to keep in mind is that to pay attention to your desire. So the desire was there for the Xbox first, and then you got the goal in alignment. And I think many people are trying to do it backwards, where we're trying to set goals without a true universal desire being in place. And then we think we don't have enough willpower, or we beat ourselves up because we don't think that, something's right with us because we're not achieving that goal. So really pay attention to what the true desire is. The desire is what's the message from the universe to say, hey, this is what would bring you more happiness or joy in your life. And I don't care if it's a diamond ring or a certain relationship or a certain trip somewhere to a bookstore or across the world. But you've got to start making this list. And in my Childcare Business Success book, I share about creating a desire list to pay attention, but then setting goals in alignment with your desires, I think is incredibly important, because we all set what I think has been known to be called like wrong goals, where we're setting goals because they become somebody else's goals, because we're still trying to get approval from somebody or do something that we think will make somebody else happy. But really pay attention to your desires and then set goals in accordance with that. And then fuel your mind with thoughts to support you achieving that goal, that it's already here, it's already happened. And this is one of the things that I love about what you're saying, Troy, with the motivational tapes, because I'm brought back to one of the first people who I studied with who was Paul J. Meyer. I'm not sure if you've heard of Paul, but he was probably like one of the people who inspired like people like Tony Robbins, and different people studied with Paul Meyer first. But I went to Paul's ostrich farm and studied with Paul for a little while. And one of the things he said he did, and he created like hundreds of motivational tapes, but he said he would play those for his kiddos at night so they would fall asleep with those messages. And he said the cool thing is, and this is way back when, he was talking about technology where you could speed up your tape recorder so that you could listen to it faster because the words will absorb in faster. So he was a huge advocate of that strategy. But make sure it's like desires, it's goals, and then it's visualization and feeding yourself those right messages. But it's also feeling like that thing that you want is already here and it's not separate from you. And I don't know if that's true for you, but that's definitely true for me in my life.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That is so true, because desire is what drives us, so even if, like you say, like, if you have a goal of like, okay, I want to have a successful business. Okay, well, what's the desire behind it? So for me, if I just say I want to have a successful business, that's not a lot of motivation to me, right? Because there's no emotion behind that. But if I look back and I say, I want to have a successful business because I want to support my wife and my children and give them the life that they deserve. Now there's some meaning behind that. That's my desire. My desire is to take care of my family. My goal is to have a successful business, and then I'm going to set up little goals to get me there. But if I can't forget the desire, that's why I really want to do it. That's the emotion behind me that's going to push me to do it. So I love what you're saying there about that, because it really does. A lot of people set a goal and they have no desire behind it, and then they wonder why they don't achieve it. Well, it's because they didn't really care, in the first place. They didn't find out what the desire was.
Yeah, setting the wrong goal. And then we beat ourselves up, and then we're focusing on that. So is there something that's a daily practice of yours right now for staying self-motivated?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So I think it's really important to know yourself and know who you are. And for me, if you've ever done those color tests, I'm a blue. So that's my personality. So one of the things I like to do as that personality is I like to check things off my list. So one of the things I do to motivate myself is I know that that's something that that I like to do, my mind likes to do. So I create my list of here's what I got to get done today, because I know it'll motivate me to work on it. And two, by the time I get done with that list and I check that last thing off, I'm going to have a really good feeling inside. So I'm going to end my day in a really positive way. So that's one thing I do. The other thing is I've got about a half-hour drive into the office every day. And I don't listen to the radio. I listen to something motivational so that by the time I walk in the door, I am just feeling it and ready to go. And the third thing I do is, and I learned this from my dad, and I don't know if you've ever met my dad, Julie, but
I think we had a brief talk. Yeah.
Okay. So I learned this from my dad. My dad, if you ask my dad how he is, the answer his entire life that I know of is sensational. And he says it like that. And I even tested him as a kid. When he was sick as a dog, I went in his bedroom, he's laying in bed, and I said, "Hey, Dad, how you doing today?" And he's like, "Sensational." And I mean, he could barely talk. But the point was, whether he's sensational or not, he is sensational. And there are varying degrees of sensational. But when he would say that to people, they would stop and be like, and the most common, and I actually took it on myself and I started doing it. And the common response is, "Well, dang, I wish I was sensational." And I'm like, you can be sensational. All you got to do is say you're sensational.
Yes. I do that all the time. People ask, "How are you?" I'm like, absolutely perfect. And even if it's something that you're sick as a dog, it's like, I'm just, I'm healing.
Yeah.
It's like,
there are various degrees of perfect, right?
Right. It's like you never, ever, ever want to give credence to the negative situations, because then you're just going to make those true. And I think somebody posted a comment about, a quote, and I think it's Thomas Edison, who said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you'll prove yourself right every single time." And the same thing is true with the thoughts and the messages, and a clear indication of your mindset is the words that come out of your mouth. So if your mindset is in a negative place, you're going to be, it's a challenge, it's hard, it's frustrating, I'm trying, you're going to be spewing out all these different words. It's a struggle, and that's a direct reflection of our mindset. But if we say, "I'm finding the perfect solution, I hope it's, I can't wait for it to be revealed today," and you really talk to yourself in a whole different way, that's going to open up your eyes to a whole different set of possibilities. Like the Xbox example, different mindset, a whole world of possibilities to make the money. And that's the same thing that's true with your staff. When they come to you with a problem, ask them about what is their desire for resolution? What is it that they really desire to have happen in that given situation? And then you get them talking about what they would like to have happen instead of what they don't want to have happen or what the other person's doing wrong. So this is a way that you start really recultivating your workplace culture. But it's how you talk to your staff and how you get them to focus on things from an intrinsic place to say, "Well, how do you want to feel today at work? How can you take responsibility for making that happen? Let's write down 5 things that you can do today." A conflict with a coworker, great. Let's write down 5 different things you can do to get that resolved so that how would you like to feel today at work? So that you can feel that way, because that's how we want you to feel. So everybody's, and because everybody's coming to everybody else. And one of my mentors said that we all have an umbilical cord still attached to us, and we're just looking for a new place to plug in. And I always think that's brilliant, because how many staff are doing that with motivation, where it's like, all right, who's gonna, who can I plug in today for some power? Who's got a little bit of something to give to me? And we're all coming from empty cups, and we could start totally filling our own cups and coming at it from a very motivated perspective.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too, because I was thinking about one of the changes we made in our meetings was we would meet with our team, and the first thing we would discuss is, okay, what are the issues? What are the problems we're dealing with today? And it's like, all of a sudden I realized, like, wow, I'm setting this meeting with a negative tone. Like, not, hey, what's going awesome? What have we been successful at? So that they're getting pumped up to celebrate it. It's, no, what's wrong? Tell me what's wrong so I can try and fix it right now. And everyone's like, "Oh, this is wrong." And that's, and it's the mood we set as a business owner. Yes. We need to come in and set that mood of like, everything is awesome and we can deal with whatever problem there might be today because we're going to rock it.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And just a reminder to everybody that Troy and I will be checking in for comments even after the show wraps up. So if you do have something you'd like to say, and we don't get to address it here live, we will be coming back and reading through the comments. And also keep in mind, we've got a marketing prize on the table where you're going to get a free marketing video, which we're really excited about, for our most engaged person over the last week, including through tonight's show. So if you've got comments for us, or questions, go ahead and post them there. If you've got share it out to any directors groups. If you're a part of any director or owner groups, let them know the Child Care Business Success Show is happening. Tell them to come here. And that's what we were doing last week, Loretta, for Brownies, was to share it out and then put your name in the comments so we know who the referral came from. So go ahead and do that. We'll do that as part of our engagement activity, but go ahead and share, because we'd love to help so many people with the Child Care Business Success Show. And in the near future, you're going to be able to download the shows, and we're going to have transcripts done for you as well, so that you can sit there with a highlighter and just highlight the written context of what you want to implement in your life. But I also love, Troy, what you were saying about the news and not watching that and tuning into different things on the radio. That's one of the things that I do. And sometimes a good strategy is not doing something. And one of the things that I not do is I don't watch the news, where I used to watch the news, and my husband used to watch like 20 different stations of the news at once. But it really sets your mindset. So one of the things I don't do is watch or listen to the negative stuff. The really important stuff is going to make it to me anyways. But the only way that I can be the best that I can be for my clients, or just in my life and how I show up these days, is to not focus on that. And I used to struggle with that, because I was like, oh, but everybody's posting on Facebook about the tortured puppies, or what's happening in India with the animals, or this or that. And you hear, all these horrible stories. And I'm like, if I'm going to do something about it, and I feel it's a desire to be a cause for me in my life, I want to pay attention, and I'm going to be an advocate for it. But I don't believe as a human being that we could have like 20 or 30 causes and just be upset about everything and make a difference. We're going to make more of a difference with one cause or one issue that really matters to us than we will by spreading our energy around.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's so funny because my wife's the same way as your husband. She loves the news and everything that goes on. And it's like, I walk in the door and she's like, oh my gosh, did you hear what happened today? And my answer is always no, because I'm not paying attention to that. And she'll start to tell me. And I finally just told her, I said, hon, listen, I said, if I can't change it, if there's nothing that I can do to make it better, I said, then I really don't want to know about it. And she's like, well, you don't want to know? And like a perfect example is those boys, the scouts or the soccer team that was trapped in Thailand. She's like, did you hear about this? And I said, oh my gosh, that's horrible. I said, you know what? When they get them out, tell me, because I want to know the great part of the story, and I'll celebrate that. I'm like, but there's nothing I can do for them, unfortunately, other than say a prayer for them, and that's the extent of it. But I'm like, I don't want all that negative stuff to bring me down. I want to focus on where I can make a difference, not on the things that I can't.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important. So I hope everybody's getting some good stuff. And again, we'd love your comments if you have any. We've got some prizes on the table. But I think that was really good. I really appreciate you sharing, Troy. And it's also great for people to get to know you on that level. And this is what I love about who I'm calling my friends. It are people who also support childcare business success, like yourself with So Tell Us. But everybody has their own journey, and you've got strategies, and there's things that you're working behind the scene to also maintain your mindset. And we're pulling back the curtains on that in this episode of Childcare Business Success, because it's not like we just have this natural state where it's like we wake up and everything is fantastic and great and be motivated and be like us. No, many of us have went through rainstorms. And Troy, I'm sure if you dig backwards somewhere in the line of being so motivated, there may have been something that your dad went through where he said, hey, you know what? Now this is why I've got to turn it around in my life, and it's going to turn around for everybody in my life and in my path going forward. So somewhere along the way, somebody said, hey, you know what? Things are going to be different for future generations. And here's what we're going to be doing. And you could be that change agent. We all can be now in our lives for people who we impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. There was a big difference in his life, and he wanted his life to be totally different when it came to us. And that's gone on for now through my generation, and hopefully my family carries that on, because you're absolutely right. We all have our storms that we go through. So every single one of us, sometimes people look at us when we're on stage and we're speaking, they're like, oh my gosh, they've got the best life ever. And it's like, no, we all have our challenges. But what I found is if we can make it through those and we have the right attitude, like you said about gratitude, I've been able to look at every major struggle in my life, and I've been able to see why I needed to go through it to be the person I am today. And I think that's the key, is remembering that when you do struggle, have the positive attitude that when I am through this, because I will get through this, I will be on the other side someday, and I will be a better person because of it.
And I can very confidently state, and I think you can too, is that I really like myself. There's not a part of me, and it's, it might sound vain, but it's very confident because I know what I've been through and I know who I am. And, I just really like who I am. And I'm very grateful for all the experiences and the journey that I've been on, because I wouldn't be the person otherwise who I am. So to me, life has always been just a learning ground. It's all about lessons, and it's all about how much can I go through and still love in spite of. And you probably really like yourself too, right, Trey? I have a feeling.
I like being with myself. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
And you'll hear that from Loretta too, because I have a feeling she really likes herself also. But this is the congruency that I want everybody who's listening to this to have, is that feeling of being consistent with the energy that you're putting out to the world with who you are internally. And that's why I think transparency is so important. And a lot of times we've got things going on the inside of us or with our team, and we're closing the curtains, hoping nobody else will see it. But then we're operating on this level that is so inconsistent with the desire of how we want to express ourselves in this lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Troy, thank you so much for sharing. I love what you shared. And I think it's going to add value to a lot of our folks. And if you're tuning in live, say hello. Also, if you catch the replay of this and you're not with us live, still say hello, still leave a comment. You could tag Troy or myself or Loretta when we bring her on. If you have any questions or follow-up comments. Did I say we have prizes coming tonight? We do. We do. We're going to save those for last. All right, Troy, I'm going to say thank you so much. And this is Troy Howard with So Tell Us. And remember to grab that free 30-day offer. Troy, why don't you go ahead and give us that link again? And maybe post that for us in the discussion.
Absolutely. So it's sotellus.com and then /Julie. And then the promo code is going to be 30 free. So 30 FREE. And that will get you that 30-day free trial.
Okay. So you could check it out for 30 days and see how it stirs your childcare program. But what did you say? You had one center who got like 100 something new enrollments?
Yeah. She added 150 new enrollments in like a 6-month period. So she loves us and we love her.
Awesome. Troy, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you on future shows.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to put Troy back down in the lobby. And in our last segment, I'm going to have Loretta, our Chief of Happiness, come up and join us. And she's going to share her journey. And I challenged Loretta before we kicked off the show tonight to share the toughest parts of her journey. Because in spite of Loretta stating that she is nauseatingly happy, I think that's her words. She'll tell you, she'll correct me if I'm wrong, or a nauseating ray of sunshine. Is that what it is? I don't know. But in spite of that, she has been through some immense stuff and challenges, just like I have. And all of our challenges are different. But when you look at her and you speak with her and you meet her at some of our events, you would just never know that there were obstacles going on. You would think that this girl just had this blessing of a life. So I'm going to welcome up to our virtual stage here, Miss Loretta Chalk, who's going to share with us her journey. Hey, Loretta.
Hello.
Hello. Nice.
I do have a blessing of a life. You're right.
You do. You absolutely do. We all do. But there's a journey that you've traveled, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always a journey. Life is a journey.
So, I know, and when I first met you, and you could tell me what you don't want me to share, but when I first met you, all of the book.
Go for it. I have my tissue just in case.
Okay. So when I first met you, you were going through some very rough times. And it was an instant change in your life. And I was just amazed when I sit back and really got a glimpse of who you are and how you were walking that path. So I'm going to let you share for a little bit just your journey. And you could start at that point in time, or maybe there's something else that you'd like to share in there. But then we want to talk about some self-motivation strategies that you did to really come on this other side where, yeah, your life's a blessing of a life. Because a lot of people choose the opposite road, the opposite path. So, and for me, it's been a blessing to have you part of our vision here at Childcare Business Success and all the work that we're doing. So I'm going to just let you have the floor now.
All righty. Well, thank you. It is also a blessing to be a part. So thank you as well.
You're welcome.
So I guess the tough part of life, not that there hasn't been bumps along the way, but for me, the tough part came a couple of years ago. Let's see. Oh, goodness. Okay. We can do this. Or not. Okay. After being married for 20 years, my husband just decided he was done. He didn't want to be married anymore. And it threw me for a loop. There was no preparation for that. No reason for it. Nothing that you would typically think of as, hey, here's a great reason to not be together anymore. It was just, I don't so much feel like it. Maybe a midlife crisis. I still don't know. It's a good thing I had my tissue. So that was the end of that. And I could have done this forever, but it only comes in spurts here and there. I just said, you know what? This is not something I have control over. It's not the choice that I wanted to make, but it was the reality. So I chose to accept it, and I think that's made it a lot easier. I definitely still have moments where when I talk about it, I get emotional, and that's okay. You have to process things, and that's part of the process. But I chose to say, okay, plot twist, let's do something with this. This isn't what I chose, but it's like those choose your own ending books, but I didn't get to choose. It got chosen for me. So I love the adventure of life. That wasn't quite the adventure I was looking for. But if I was going to be on it, let's do it and let's have fun. Okay, I think I'm through the emotional part.
Okay. Yeah, and big hugs to you for sharing that, because I know that's a lot, and it's still fresh within you too.
Yeah.
And it's not like me where I share my stories many, many times. It's, this is Loretta opening up and sharing this so that you could see just a little bit of the journey that she's traveled. And
it rains and the sunshine too. Oh, goodness. Yeah. So all at that same time, we were moving. I took a new job, which was a very big pay cut, because I thought that when we moved that what I was going to get to do was be a little more involved with Olivia's schooling, and that's our daughter. So I took this giant pay cut and went, oh, wait, so then that's what I make now. Okay. And it was slightly outside of the childcare field. I actually am in an elementary school teaching pre-K and kindergarten. So I still had the pre-K, but, I was missing the administration. I was missing part of what makes me and my best self, which is definitely in the administration, the interactions with children, teachers, families, etc. So it was definitely something new for me. I make the best of it because I'm a bloom where you're planted person. I mean, it just was, I chose to really dig in and have fun. I joined the Virginia Symphony Orchestra Chorus because as a musician, music is a really integral part of my life. There are lyrics, and those t-shirts that you see that say my brain is 80% lyrics, that's absolutely true. Maybe an understatement. Several times in your talk just a minute ago, I started singing because you said things that reminded me of songs. So that's just, I need music as an outlet. That is something God has gifted me with, and I needed that. So having that choral experience has been so uplifting for me, because it's my 3 hours a week where I get away and I can just float away into whatever music we're practicing and let the angels sing through me. And it's absolutely something that lifts me every single week, no matter how tired I am, because choir ends after bedtime. So it's that one day a week that I get to do something like that. And then I have
And then
absolutely.
Let me just stop there for a moment to reiterate what you're saying. So with that, what I love about that is that you've got to, and this is where, especially if you're a caregiver, you're a child care professional, you are spending your time worrying, caring, and thinking about everybody else. It's one of the top traits that I see from everybody in this industry. So what Loretta has successfully done is she's got 3 hours carved out just for her to do her thing. So I want to challenge everybody who's watching this is, what is the time that you can structure and carve out just for you to do your thing? One of them is me. It's swing dancing on Tuesday nights. Even if I get there super late, I'm still going and still doing it. But carve out, and when you pull your calendar, I don't have my calendar right down here, but when you pull your calendar out, sometimes it becomes so difficult to look at it, because every single goal and everything you put in that calendar is for like everybody else in your business and just your leadership responsibilities. But I really encourage you, and I've mentioned this before, is to pull out your calendar and look at it from a perspective of putting down the things that fill your heart and soul first. So when you look at your blank slate, fill it in first, and then look at all the other commitments and things that are in there. All right. And I did lose Loretta. So Loretta, if you could come back on and join us if you're able, that would be fantastic. All right. Otherwise, we can move into prizes in the meantime. I think Loretta will be popping back on. We just lost her. But Jonna, you can Facebook message me if we have any prize winners for our video and for our brownies. So brownies is for the most interaction this evening, and video is from the time that we announced it for the video for the marketing video through this evening, who those two winners are, and I can announce them if you want to Facebook those to me, and I will check my messenger for who our prize winners are. But please go and tell everybody about the Child Care Business Success Show. We're happening every Monday we're shooting for 6 o'clock. We had technical difficulties tonight, and that sometimes happens. And like I said, the replays will be available for you. We're also going to be making this show available to you in a downloadable form, as well as a podcast in the near future. So every episode that you hear is going to be in a podcast form coming up very soon. So let me check in here and see if we've got any prize announcements. Oh, I didn't hear anything from Jonna yet. Oh, but she's typing. All right, I see her typing there. Oh, and Loretta is back. All right, I'm going to put Loretta back up here with us so that we can conclude our segment with Loretta. And I really encourage you to come back and listen to this, because I shared some strategies. Troy shared some amazing strategies, and you're getting some from Loretta as well. And I want to make sure that you get these outlined for yourself and really are able to conceptualize this. So even if you joined us late, come back and tune in after we wrap up the live broadcast. The replay is going to be available to you. So come back and listen. And Loretta, I'm going to welcome you back up, and then we'll wrap up with what you feel are your top strategies that you've implemented to really sustain your motivation. All right. Yay, you're back.
I'm back. I don't know what happened.
You were just like gone. I kind of knew that was going to happen too. I was like, I'm going to start talking.
Oh, no.
Okay, so let's wrap up with your strategies. And I think you were about to say something else. So I'll let you just kind of conclude on that point and then share some of your hard-hitting strategies for staying motivated, because you are now single mom she embarked on her tiny house, and she'll give you, and if you want anybody to follow you, you can give them the link there if you want them to follow your tiny house story. But she's posting on Facebook all the time, just her journey being a single mom, living in her tiny house, and just all the amazing things. And you never see one negative post. It's always just, here's another fantastic thing that's happening. And here's another fantastic thing that's happening. So go ahead and give us some more of your strategies, Loretta, and anything else that you'd like to say.
I think I was just going to say I'm incredibly blessed to have a wonderful, wonderful church family. We had the church family anyway. And when my husband left, he essentially left the church family. So they're now my church family. And they've really rallied around. And just they're so wonderful. They'll call every once in a while and just say, "Hey, do you have anything to do? You want to come over for dinner?" Even if I can't, it's so wonderful. People just checking in, making sure that everything is okay. But I am truly surrounded by friends and family by heart, even though they may not be blood related, just people who are a part of my circle, and they keep me honest. They keep me motivated because, I want to be the best that I can be for myself and then for those people in my life as well. So I think just for me, the motivation comes from within. That, I'm a perfectionist. I know that. I have learned to let go of a lot of things that I cannot control, and that's taken a lot of work. But if it's something that I'm putting my name on, I want it to be well done and quality. And I hold myself to high standards. And I think my motivation comes from that place of, I'm going to be the best that I can be because I've been gifted with this day. So let's make the best of it.
Absolutely. Which is another strategy for everybody, is to make sure you've got a strong support system. And too often we are relying on people that we work with to be our support system, to be our family, to be our confidants. I really encourage owners, directors, have strong support systems outside of work. If there is venting that needs to go on from the top down, the workplace is not the place to do it. The workplace is a place to brainstorm for solutions, but there are stress management groups, there are support groups, there are church communities, those kind of things that you need to plug into so that you have a strong support system in place. It's incredibly important. And is there a certain message that goes through your head all the time, Loretta, when you wake up? Are there certain thoughts that you're feeding yourself?
If my house wasn't an absolute disaster from just coming home, there's suitcases and clothes everywhere, I would show you my wall. But if you go to my tiny house page on Facebook, you can find us at LilyPad Life. It's 3 separate words. I have pictures of all of the motivational comments and quotes and things that I have on my wall. I am that nauseating ray of sunshine. And once in a while there are a few raindrops, but I choose the one that's closest at the top of my stairs that I see first is, I think I'll just be happy today. That's the first positive thing that I see going down my stairs every single day. So,
yeah, and what Loretta's sharing is fantastic. Think about your childcare program. How many quotes do you have on the walls, in your staff lounge? And I gave some strategies the other day in one of my videos. And if you take a peek back, scroll through the Facebook page, you'll see me talking about using quotes in your childcare program, because it's really about expanding our own mindset and expanding our staffs and holding them to higher expectations with the thoughts that they think. All right, well, I'm going to peek in and see who our prize winners are. Jonna had sent me some messages. So I'll let you, Loretta, you could go ahead and give your website again and anything else that you want to say. Well, I'm just going to divert my eyes over to the Facebook page so I can announce who our prize winners are. And, I just want to thank you for sharing. And the truth is that who you see, there's a whole story behind it. And this is what you've got to know with your staff or even about yourself. There's a story there. And your story, if you're an owner, might connect you with certain pain that your parents go through and why they're seeking you out as a service provider. So really take a look at your story and say, which part of the story should I share so that people can really relate to me? And your story sells. And that's going to be a whole different topic we're going to do on stories. but go ahead, Loretta, give out your Facebook page again for your tiny home. And I'm going to see who our winners are.
Alrighty. Well, please feel free. I'm building, it's just now starting with pictures and videos and things, but I'd love to have you all follow. It's called Lily Pad Life, 3 words, Lily Pad Life. And you can see pictures of our tiny house. There's a video tour and all the fun adventures that we continue to enjoy on a daily basis. We tend to post. So it's something fun. If you've been intrigued by the trend to go tiny, I would love to talk with you about it because it is an adventure and we're having fun.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So we have brownie winners. We have brownies to give away. So let's do a drum roll, Loretta. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. So for most interaction this evening, it is Nikki Shoulders. So Nikki, congratulations.
Yay, Nikki.
You get brownies. Yay. Woo. And for our marketing video, we had a couple close people. So we had our runner-up for that was Amy. So Amy, you were very close in winning, but the person, and just make sure I got this right and I'm not announcing the wrong person. Okay, so here's who Jonna says is the winner. So the winner for the marketing video is Miss Mandy Moore. So Mandy, congratulations.
Yay, Mandy.
And Mandy, you don't have to use the video right away. And if you want to brainstorm ideas about how to use the video, we can help you with that also. But one of my passions is just video and video marketing. So I thought it'd be a really cool prize to be able to give away. So congratulations, Mandy. And Amy, keep trying because you were our second runner-up for the prize this week. All right, Troy's still here with us. So I'm gonna put you back in the lobby so we can all say goodbye together. Let's do a little threesome here. We'll see if Troy comes up in the middle. No, he doesn't come into the middle of us. So can I change it? Let's see here. Oh, no.
Troy's family might have something to say about this.
Yeah, just, I'll make sure my wife doesn't watch this.
She's watching the news.
Exactly.
Wait, I gotta figure out. Okay, there I am. Got to figure out this. Okay, so now the 3 of us are, and I'll say it a little cleaner. All right. So I just wanted my friends to join me. So thank you, Troy Howard, for being here. Thank you so much, my Chief of Happiness, Loretta Chalk. I love you. I always say your last name wrong. Chalk, right?
It's okay. I'm used to it.
Like chalk. And I'm Julie Barkas. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching the replay, we will be checking in. And I hope you've got some great value from listening to each one of us talk about our journeys with self-motivation. And I can't wait for next week's show. And if you have any topics that you would like to hear us talk about, please feel free to leave those in the comments as well. And it was an absolute pleasure being here with you. And I will go back and read through the comments, but well, I'm always tempted. I have to put up here. Okay, so Jonna says, congratulations, Mandy. Nikki says, thank you so much.
Yay.
We just have to put their names up
Nikki,
here.
I'm going to hunt you down for an address.
Oh, yeah. Here's Karen. Karen says, everyone needs a little strong circle. Faith is super important. Absolutely. Felicia gave us a nice, is that a thumbs up? And Andrea, oh, here's one for you, Loretta. Bless you, Loretta, for sharing your story. Kimberly Peets, she put on the link for Troy. Thank you, Kimberly, for doing that. We appreciate it. We had Karen. There's Andrea saying, wonderful discussion. Thank you so much. And Stephanie. Oh, that is something we all have to be careful of. Oh, wait, I don't know what that's regarding. I didn't pre-read these puppies at all. Okay, and the list goes on. So we've had a lot of comments and a lot of interaction. So on behalf of me and my guests, Troy and Loretta, thank you so much for joining us this evening on this episode of the Child Care Business Success Show. Thanks for being here. Bye, everyone.